Welcome to Clarion Chats, a new episode series on the Clarion Cause podcast, where we talk about previous and upcoming events. My name is Harley, and I am your podcast host for this series. And I am joined today by my co-host, Josh. So would you like to kind of introduce yourself real quick?
Hello, I am Josh Fadari, a reporter for the Sinclair Clarion.
Okay, so the first thing I just want to get out of the way is in political news, President Joe Biden held his first news conference today, and they mainly talked about the issue of immigration, especially because there's a lot of families and children who are flocking to the border. What are your thoughts on this situation?
It should be interesting because, as you know, currently a number of Trump-era policies have been kept in place by the Biden administration for the moment because of the pandemic. Having a surge at the border is never great, but having a surge at the border during a time when they could be bringing in contagious disease is disastrous.
I think the main thing that people are talking about is the fact that since a lot of children are traveling here alone, a lot of children are also in like adult prisons.
Yeah.
Which is obviously not a good situation because those prisons are not made for children.
Yeah.
I don't know how Biden's view on immigration differs from past presidents. I don't know, because I know he halted construction on the wall. That was from the Trump administration, but I don't know anything else for his plans.
The wall was a non-starter for Democrats from day one. If I remember correctly, Biden's fairly pro immigration, but this is the worst possible time for immigration. Is the main issue. If we didn't have the pandemic in place, if we had, or at the very least, if we were further along in our vaccination route, I believe that the Trump era policies that are forcing kids more towards prisons and the substandard living, those would probably be gone by now, or they would be actively being removed. But essentially, this is emergency mode where we don't know where to put these kids. And if we get rid of these laws right now, we're really not going to know where to put these kids. So it's not a good situation across the board. From what I've heard, the Biden administration is planning to work alongside Mexico to try and improve their holding facilities to make things to essentially stem the tide that's coming towards us.
Yeah, everything that I've read about the immigration situation is that Biden halted the wall construction, but he halted it mainly because he believed there was another way to go about immigration in this country. I don't know what that plan is, but I think that's mainly what this press conference today was to discuss what's going on at the border and further action for the future.
The thing about legal immigration in this country, quite simply, is that yes, you get surges at the border like we're experiencing now, but one, they're not that common, and two, a lot of the people that are showing up at the border qualify under American laws as refugees, economic refugees. And two, the massive amount of illegal immigrants within the country came here completely illegally. They simply got their green card, came over for work or study or whatever it is, and when the green card expired, they simply stayed. And that's how, I don't know the exact numbers on it, but for a number of years, it's been like this. It's just the attention on the border, because it can happen so suddenly, just large and immediate numbers. That's why it's always kind of the focus. But when it comes to illegal immigration, you're more likely to find an immigrant coming in on a plane and just sticking around than you are running across the border.
I do think that's a very interesting point, because I didn't even know that some people get their green card and then once it expires, they just stay.
Yeah, I mean,
never really thought about that.
people equate it with south of the border, but we have illegal immigrants coming in from all parts of the world. We have a number coming in from Africa, Asia. Yeah, you could have illegal immigrants from Europe.
Yeah, that's a good point. And but speaking of kind of like we're mentioning all these countries, the Olympics are coming up. Are you excited for the Olympics?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Um, yes, because the Olympics is such a spectacle. It's so ridiculous. Um,
Yeah.
and no, because uh, pandemic Olympics, I don't know what that looks like, but it can't be great.
Well, they've already explained that they're gonna ban any spectators, so it's only going to be like the team and their coach and the judge. That's it.
Okay. Okay.
Like
Well,
banned
that's actually
people, they're
good.
not allowed to come to like no people in the stands at all. It's only gonna be teams, their coach, and their judge, so they can practice the social distancing rules and regulations. So anyone who wants to watch the Olympics strictly has to do it on TV.
Well, that's good because I don't know if you know this, but the Olympics are kind of terrible for whoever hosts. But the temporary like economic boost of having holding this gigantic event is immediately offset by having just this giant coliseum you've built and having no idea what to do with it. And you've more than likely spent more building the Olympics than you're going to make back hosting the Olympics. So what you see in a lot of countries, especially countries that aren't exactly in the economic position to host the Olympics to begin with, is that they build these giant coliseums and then they just kind of let them disintegrate.
See, I don't really think about that because I thought they already had like a pre-designated area.
No, 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 no. In a lot of countries, it's like to build up like a new fan. And see, and even if they did have it, they probably need to like renovate it from whenever they last hosted. So they have to build facilities for like all these different sports, big village and things like that. And that's what you had back in 2014. 2014 was the Sochi Olympics, right?
I have no idea.
I believe it was. I'm going to run with that. They didn't really have the money to like make everything as perfect. Like they had the money to build the facilities, but not really to like clean them and keep them properly kept as they wanted. So you had like dogs running around and like some athletes catching diseases from certain things. And then you just have this giant area that it's, it's a huge economic strain to keep it upkept. So you just kind of let it fall apart.
Yeah. I read something today on Twitter about how there was like the torch race began today,
Uh-huh.
which I didn't know that there was a race to determine who got to do that. I just thought they picked somebody. And also,
Yeah.
yeah, the 2014 Olympics, I looked it up. It is in Sochi. So you were correct on that.
Hello.
But I'm really excited for the Olympics, especially because since it did get postponed last year due to COVID, I'm very excited to see gymnastics, especially because Simone Biles is coming off of a record that she just broke not too long ago. So
Oh, yeah,
very
yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, it's always fun to see us win. But like thinking of like, oh, this must be absolute havoc for anyone who actually lives there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this time they don't have to like shuttle anyone in, and no one's going to be watching, so they don't have to build a giant coliseum to host everyone.
No. Which should be good. But I think there's some countries who aren't going to participate. And I don't know what countries are, but I know there are a few countries that said that they probably were not going to participate.
I'll give you one: Russia.
There you go. But anyway, let's move on to our second sports news of the day. So March Madness, both the females and the men's are in the Sweet 16, which means I'm going to say we're halfway there. We're halfway
Yeah,
there. I do know that when March Madness started, I don't know if you saw how the females weren't given a proper weight room and their food was like prepackaged nonsense and their kind of gift bag was also nonsense and the guys got all this like luxurious like stuff. Like they got like a really nice weight room, a whole buffet, like all this stuff. And it got really viral because a lot of the female players were posting about it. So the NCAA fixed a lot of that, gave them a new weight room, was giving them new food options, but they've yet to update their Twitter bio to include the women's March Madness. It just says home of the men's March Madness tournament.
Yeah. The Americans aren't great at remembering women's teams exist, except when it comes to soccer. Yeah, that's the thing. Our women's soccer team can actively win. Men's team, the highest they have ever gotten in a FIFA World Cup was second place back in 1912, because more often than not, our men's team doesn't even qualify for the tournament because our men's team ain't great.
Well, anyway, going off of that, Women's History Month is going to slowly be coming to a close as March is coming to a close. Speaking of women and entertainment, so Taylor Swift, obviously, she's releasing all her albums again because of this conservatorship that Scooter Braun has where he owns her music. And so she is now allowed to re-record it. So she's been re-recording since like late last year when she was allowed to. And she is planning to release Fearless next month, but she released a song from The Vault called You All Over Me. I am really excited about this. But I don't know. I just think it's really nice because this whole conservatorship has definitely taken a toll on her. Do you know about Taylor Swift's conservatorship? Like what was going on with that?
Yes, yes, I did.
Okay. Because I think that whole thing was just a mess. And I don't know. I'm glad that she now is able to re-record, whether you like her music or not. I think it's so great that she is going to have control of her music, or at least the control to re-record her music. I was a little questionable why she didn't start with her first album because she has an album before Fearless, but she decided to start with Fearless, which I don't know why, but I don't know. Whether you like her or hate her, I think I'm just happy that this whole conservatorship thing is like finally coming to an end and she can release music on her terms. And, you know, just do what she needs to do. But in other news, speaking of other female artists, do you know what this year is, Josh? You know that it's 15 years of Hannah Montana. Hannah Montana is turning 15 this year. So the reason why I saw this is because the Twitter and Instagram account for Hannah Montana got reactivated and they got verified and they've been posting the last couple of days. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? She's back. Hannah Montana's back.
Oh God, Jesus! They just, for some reason, they're just bringing back every old show they can possibly think of. They're rebooting Punky Brewster for some reason. That was before my time, but for some reason they're rebooting Punky Brewster. They're bringing back iCarly without Jeanette McCurdy, so I'm not sure how that's going to work.
Well, Jeanette didn't want to do it because of some abuse she suffered while on the show due to the show's creator, Dan Schneider. But also, if you think about it, like Sam's character was very rebellious and very like, you know, like out there. You could really just say Sam's in jail and just like write it off. Be like, oh, Sam went to jail for XYZ, just to mention her character, or they can do another route. So it should be interesting to see how they do that. But it's not like hard. But anyway, yeah, Hannah Montana's coming back. Like you said, iCarly's coming back. A lot of older shows are making a comeback. I heard they're making a Lizzie McGuire reboot.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of shows that are making a revival, which should be interesting, but also, like, I'm kind of scared. There's talks of Wizards of Waverly Place coming back, but that one's not been confirmed, but they all said that they would love to do a reboot.
That or they're just making live action animated shows. Powerpuff Girls, for instance, is getting a live action show, which is, unless it has blood and guts, I don't talk to me.
I've watched the Powerpuff Girls growing up. I guess I just blocked that out of my memory.
Yeah, everyone did, but it was what made it so great. You had these cute, innocent little girls brutally destroying giant monsters.
Well, speaking of brutally destroying, we will talk about what Pepsi did. So Pepsi and Peeps decided to create Peepsi, which would be a marshmallow soda. I don't get the hype with Peep. I don't know. I used to love Peeps when I was a kid. I do not like marshmallows now that I'm older. Reading marshmallow soda just does not sit right with me when I'm looking at my notes.
Now, do I want to drink a bird? That's the question. And the answer is no. Google an image of a peep and think about it for a second. Do I want to drink this?
Well, and the answer is like don't Peeps, like, they're marshmallow and soft on the inside, but don't they have like that rough texture on the outside?
That's sugar. That is pure sugar.
Oh. Didn't know that.
That's just sugar.
Sense. It does make sense, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Mm-hmm. So you said you're a Peep fan? Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's like I said, it's marshmallow coated in sugar. It is too much to like gorge on. Yeah. Like, if it comes around, I'm getting Peeps this Easter, whether I want them or not. So yeah, I'll eat a couple, but just a couple, because unless you're a kid, if you're a kid, that is so much sugar.
Yeah, it's a lot of sugar, but like I said, like, I'm not a big fan of marshmallows anymore. Like, even Lucky Charms cereal with the little marshmallows, I can't. But with the marshmallows and Lucky Charms, it's like a texture thing for me. I just don't like it. With a sugary marshmallow that's shaped like a bunny or bird, that was like my dream as a kid. Now I just look at that, I'm like, I'm good. Mm-hmm. I'm good, thank you. But what are your thoughts on the fact that Peeps, while they're not like a super popular candy, they have so much merchandise? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
God, I wish we got more of the merchandise in like other countries get some of the weird stuff.
I just look at every Easter, it's like Peeps are everywhere. Like, Peeps are on like napkins, plates, deck of cards, a pillow, a blanket. Oh, you need a new frying pan or a new kitchen set? Here, Peeps. And I'm like, what? I'm like, do you guys like Peeps this much? Like, what is it?
And the commercialization is, well, I guess if you only get to go crazy once per year, you might as well.
You might as well, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that's all I have planned for this episode. This has been this episode of Clarion Chats. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with a friend. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.